New York State judge has dismissed terrorism charges against Luigi Mangione in the state's case over the late 2024 killing of UnitedHealthcare CEO Brian Thompson, but kept second-degree murder charges in place. We're going to tell you a couple of different angles to this, including the people celebrating on the streets. First, we'll take you through this article from Zero Hedge. It says that New York Judge Gregory Carro ruled that although Mangione's actions were ideologically motivated, New York law requires proof of intent to intimidate or coerce a civilian population for terrorism charges, which prosecutors failed to present. Carro ruled that prosecutors presented, quote, legally sufficient evidence of all other counts, including murder in the second degree. Mangione has pleaded not guilty to the rest of the charges. This was the first time in 5 months that Mangione, a 27-year-old Ivy League graduate from Baltimore, Maryland, returned to a Manhattan courtroom. Mangione's intentions were obvious from his acts, but his writing served to make those intentions explicit. Prosecutors wrote in a recent filing, added that the writings, quote, convey one clear message, that the murder of Brian Thompson was intended to bring about revolutionary change to the healthcare industry. Law enforcement indicates the words delay, deny, and depose that were etched into bullet casings, echoing a phrase commonly used to describe how major insurance companies avoid paying claims. Mangione has remained in custody at a Brooklyn jail since his arrest, about 5 days after the December 4 killing of Thompson. Mangione has developed a cult-like following within the Democratic Party, which conservative activists such as Charlie Kirk have long warned is a symptom of normalizing and spreading assassination culture. Now, we want to show you this disturbing clip of people cheering and hugging in reaction to the terrorism charges being dropped. The murder count will still stand, but they are literally yelling, "Free Luigi." Take a listen.
A fucking pedophile, so I'm glad this is the result.
You know, that's amazing. But that just shows them we're all together, right? They were like, they can't let that shit slide. Yep. Guys, this is on everybody, right? Because we didn't let that shit slide. So you know we didn't let that slide. That's right. Free! Luigi! Free! Luigi! Free! Luigi! Luigi!
So first and foremost, let's just address the terrorism aspect of the ruling. According to reports, the direct ruling from Judge Carro is, quote, while the people place great emphasis on defendants' ideological motive, there is no indication in the statute that a murder committed for ideological reasons, in this case the defendant's apparent desire to draw attention to what he perceived as inequities or greed within the American healthcare system, fits within the definition of terrorism without establishing the necessary element of an intent to intimidate or coerce, end quote. So the judge's ruling is based on the perception that prosecutors failed to establish specifically the necessary element of an intent to intimidate or coerce. We have to consider this separate to the reaction of the people, which we will also discuss. Mangione's alleged actions are indeed extremely reprehensible and illegal, and there needs to be consequences for such actions that set an example for any future occurrences of this nature, hopefully severe enough consequences that would serve as a deterrent so that this never happens again. Many have argued that specifically, according to the law, what Mangione did does not legally meet the definition of terrorism specifically. Now, whether people agree with that ruling or not, and there is certainly a case for both arguments, the point we'd like to highlight is the overuse of certain terms. We're seeing and have been seeing a watering down of slurs, insults, and language in general for some time now. We've seen, and let's be honest, politicians, media personalities, influencers on all sides of the aisle leveling words like enemy of the state, terrorist, Nazi, white supremacist, bigot, homophobe, Islamophobe, transphobe, and a whole host of other terms at people in order to pigeonhole people to suit the accuser's ideology. The problem we now face, we're going to discuss this later in the broadcast, is that words matter, and correct definitions and correct contextual use of words matter. And when the government or anybody starts throwing around the words terrorist or terrorism, well, this then becomes a completely different playing field, one that leads to things like the Patriot Act. What we do want to protect here is the legal definition of terms so that when someone enters a courtroom, they are judged according to the legal definition and not ideology. And that goes for all sides of the political aisle. In terms of the reaction of the people on the street, this is clearly an escalating problem in American society. If those people believe that according to the legal definition, Mangione did not commit terrorism, that's one thing. But that's not what's happening here. They are chanting, "Free Luigi." An accused murderer, somebody accused of murdering another human being in cold blood, somebody who left an alleged manifesto about why he did it. The same problem is persisting today with people in society celebrating the assassination of Charlie Kirk. There is something deeply, deeply spiritually wrong with people who celebrate murder, who want murderers to roam free, and who think that killing other people is the way to get the outcomes you desire achieved. America finds itself navigating an extremely difficult conundrum here. We have people celebrating murder in the streets and on social media, legitimately celebrating. There is something deeply wrong here, and it has to be addressed. We have a government trying to hold people accountable for crimes committed, but in the same breath expanding their definition of what speech constitutes a crime. We'll be addressing that point more in segment 3 of this broadcast. Stay tuned.